Apparently, Gen Z nurses are far less likely to encourage their peers to go into the career of nursing, which was stated in an NBC article on nursing burnout. Do I feel the same? Do we feel the same on this channel? Would we caution the up-and-coming nurses to run before it's too late and get out of nursing? We're going to be talking about this nursing shortage and the nursing mental health crisis today. Welcome back to the show, everyone. Here at Nice Veins Bro, we are healthcare professionals having unfiltered conversations about God, wellness, and purpose. And we're taking a refreshing approach on important issues that affect all of healthcare professionals. And today we are talking about the nursing shortage, burnout, and nursing mental health crisis. So we've got two articles to cover today. And man, it's a lot to talk about. And as you may have noticed, it's just me. We don't have Alexander here today on this episode, so have mercy on me. This is the first episode I'm going to be hosting on my own. So just wanted to tell you before we get started, don't forget to go to our merch store online, niceveinsbro.com, and you can click on the shop button and find awesome beanies such as this. And one of my personal favorites, we've got a canvas bag that says you've never had to put a Foley in and it shows. So pick up your nursing merch for Christmas, for the holidays, and make sure you get a gift for somebody who is really awesome and you want to show appreciation to that works in healthcare. Is it just me, or are we all just like sick and tired of hearing about this shortage? Like, I feel like all the time in healthcare, if you look up healthcare news or nursing today, it's always about how there's like a shortage of nurses, and there's always talking about, mental health crises. There's a bunch of people in healthcare who are suffering, especially if you work in the hospital. In the high stress environment, I remember days where I would just get in my car after my 12, 13-hour shift, and it was all that I could do, just sit there in silence. And then the tears would flow because it was such a stressful day and I had been putting off those emotions and not dealing with it until I got in my car and I was all alone. So this survey that they took was published in May, and it covered 18,200 registered nurses. So among those nurses, it says the job satisfaction rate was 71%. This is a fall from a previous survey that showed 80% satisfaction. Now, 42%. Okay, get this. 42% of Gen Zers and 43% of millennials would encourage their peers to go into nursing versus 62% of baby boomers. So what's causing this difference? Why are the younger generations not as excited? 70% would say that their job was a hazard to their health in this year, 2023, versus 51% in 2021. So it seems like things are getting worse. People are reporting that they are less satisfied. Their jobs are more of a hazard to their health, and they wouldn't encourage people to go into nursing. What causes this burnout? This article covers how it's multiple needs at once. For example, somebody who was working in the ER, they have 6 patients, all of differing levels of care, all needing things at once. You've got somebody who's got chest pain, and next door there's somebody who's calling for ice chips. There's somebody next door who's coding, and the next person is also having issues with pain, like 8 out of 10 pain. You don't want to leave all of those things alone, but one person cannot address every single one of those needs at the exact same moment. But many times we have multiple people needing things at the exact same time. So yeah, multiple people needing different things at the exact same time makes it difficult for a nurse because we have to prioritize. But at the same time, there's a little bit of guilt there at the back of the mind whenever I know that somebody's in pain over here, and I know that they're suffering and I want to give them pain medicine. I need to go assess them. But currently this patient in front of me has chest pain, and we can't leave that alone because mortality rates, like we need to address chest pain. We don't want somebody to die because we're not intervening soon enough. So it's really, really difficult. You have the guilt in the back of your mind for not being able to meet everyone's needs. And honestly, it's an unrealistic expectation that you can meet everyone's needs right when they have them. It's an unrealistic expectation that we can meet everyone's needs at the exact same time. So what is the solution? It says fair nurse to patient ratios would be the solution. You know, we just covered the story about Kaiser Permanente and the biggest strike in nursing, where a bunch of nurses, you know, they told the Kaiser, which was like the organization over a big hospital network in California. They said, hey, we're going to go on strike because we need our needs. We have needs that need to be met, not just for our sake, but for the sake of the patients in the hospital that are not receiving the care that they need because we don't have the resources we need and we don't have the patient ratios that we need to do our care well. So it's very, very difficult to hear this. But at the same time, I think that we're hearing this over and over and over again. I'm hoping that there's some progress being made with those strikes in California. Another reason why nurses are so over it and just burnt out is because it feels like we didn't get a break, you know? So yes, the COVID pandemic happened. The pandemic happened. The pandemic happened in 2020. And during that time, people couldn't get to the doctor who had non-emergent health issues. These are things that could still be chronic illnesses, like people needing their chemo, people needing surgeries for, I don't know, tumors that were threatening, that weren't actively and acutely threatening their life, things that people could technically go on with for maybe a month or two and hopefully be okay still. These people who had experienced COVID delays to their regular appointments came back even sicker because they had waited and they had been delayed to receive the care that they needed. During this time also, nurses were caring for other people and they forgot to take care of themselves. Like it's a classic, I'm just running. Like the story of, hey, like I have 5 patients that I need to take care of. I don't have time to use the restroom. I don't have time to take a break. I don't have time to feed myself and like actually be a human being and take care of my bodily needs because I've got all of these things. I've got these 5 patients that need things all at one time. And it takes 15 minutes at least just to go into one room and address their needs before I can get to the next person. And before you know it, 3 hours have passed. It's 3 p.m. and I still haven't eaten lunch. And I didn't eat breakfast because I was hitting the floor running when I came onto my shift. So nurses specifically, it says 5 million nurses in the workforce, but they aren't so healthy. Yeah, it's not a good thing that it used to be a norm. Like it used to be a bragging point that people would say, yeah, I still haven't eaten lunch and it's already 4 p.m. It's because my patients just needed stuff so much. Like who's going to take care of you if you're taking care of other people, but you're not meeting your own basic needs for health? You know, like we've got to prioritize eating, using the restroom. If I can't take care of me, then I'm going to suffer and not be able to take care of my patients very well. We've talked about how this issue of burnout is caused by nurses being physically and emotionally overloaded, being overwhelmed, feeling unsatisfied, not being able to meet multiple patients' needs at one time, and also not getting a break after the pandemic, you know, not being able to take care of ourselves well. But is it true that there is a nursing shortage? I've had this conversation multiple times with different nurses, and it's always interesting to hear. It feels like the blame is being put on the workforce, that there aren't enough of us. But, well, before I go into the reason why, or the but statement, I want to say that 9 out of 10 nurses in this survey that was taken replied that they thought the nursing shortage was worse than it had been 5 years ago prior to the pandemic. And apparently the National Nurses United disagrees. Okay? So it's not just me who gets like a weird feeling that the blame is just being put on nurses. They disagree that there is truly a national shortage of nurses. And I quote, "There is only a shortage of nurses willing to work in environments that risk their licenses and the safety of their patients." So it's not that there is a shortage of bodies, a shortage of employees. It seems that there's a shortage of nurses who are willing to work in unhealthy environments. So that kind of puts it in perspective. I don't know if we've talked about that on this channel before in a previous episode, but doesn't that make sense? People are leaving the bedside because they are burnt out, because they are tired of these conditions where there are just too many patients to take care of per nurse, that they don't feel that they are caring adequately for each person. You know how to be an advocate already. You do it every day for your patients. It's time for you to do it for yourself. I kind of want to talk about another article done by CNN that just came out on October 25th. It says healthcare workers face a mental health crisis by the CDC. Like, it feels like there's like this never ending cascade, you know? We're hearing about burnout and we're hearing about shortages. And now the CDC is reporting a mental health crisis. What do we do? How do we deal with that? How do we take care of ourselves so that we are not facing a mental health crisis? You know, some of us would say, just get out, which I guess further worsens the nursing shortage, quote unquote shortage. But it says that according to the CDC, nearly half of the respondents to a national survey of nurses taken between 2018 and 2022 reported that they were feeling burnt out. And 44% of nurses report they're looking for a new job. Like, I have to confess, you know, me, every time that I'm on the unit, every time that I'm working at the hospital and I talk to coworkers, most people, well, I'll say just guesstimating, maybe like 50% of my coworkers have told me that, yeah, this is not it. Like, I'm looking for another job, or I honestly don't know how I want to stay in bedside and I'm going to start looking for another job, or I already have another job and I'm just finishing up my position here. Like, I see this reflected in my own personal nursing career and in my own conversations with nursing coworkers. This feeds into another report of health workers' reports of being harassed at work has more than doubled. This harassment came at the hands of patients and coworkers. There was also found to be an increased risk of suicide among those who worked in healthcare versus those who were not in the medical field. Like, that's really, really sad. And it's really, really frustrating to kind of hear that the majority, it seems, the majority of bedside nurses are just not wanting to be there anymore. So I asked the question, what is the solution, you know? And just like Miss Cooper says, the nurse from Maine earlier, she says, hey, you know, we are used to being advocates for our patients. We need to be advocates for ourselves now. Because if there are 5 million nurses in the workforce here, at least in the US, we can't possibly be a sustainable workforce if we can't take care of ourselves, if we cannot advocate for ourselves. If we're not able to eat healthily, to exercise, to get enough sleep, to, when we're on the job, say, hey, I'm going to take a break. And I'm going to take an uninterrupted break, 30 minutes for my lunch of peace. Or I'm going to use the restroom when I need to use the restroom. Like, it's so insane to me that we still can glorify a culture of self-sacrifice to the point of self-brokenness, you know? We need to be able to stand up for ourselves. And it's okay. 24/7. 24/7. That's how patient care goes. It's 24/7. There are always going to be people needing something. And the day goes on without you, even if you're not meeting your needs. So I suggest that we as healthcare workers, as nurses, stand up for ourselves and take the breaks that we need ask your team members to help and watch over your patients so that you can take a break and say, hey, like, I really would like to be uninterrupted. Like, it's okay to tell and encourage our coworkers as well to take their breaks and be an advocate for them. Say, hey, like, if you notice people haven't eaten, this is a good practice. Check on your teammates. Say, hey, have you eaten lunch yet? And if they say no, then you can offer to watch their patients while they go take a break. Like, it's incredibly helpful to offer help to your teammates. Being a team, standing up for yourself, and ultimately knowing sometimes we need to take care of our spiritual health. Not sometimes, all the time, we need to take care of our spiritual health outside of work. Because if we're coming to work and we already know that nursing is a hard job, we show up expecting to have a difficult day. How do we get through that if we are approaching our work hours from a standpoint of being empty ourselves, from not taking care of ourselves on our day off? Like, how are we spending our time? We talk about personal responsibility on this channel a lot, and it kind of starts with me, you know? What can I do on my days off to take care of my mind, to take care of my body, so that when I do come to work, I have something to draw from. I have some source of compassion, some pool of life to have energy when I go about a day that I know I'm going to have just like bing, 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 constant needs, constant call lights, just unending, it seems like, to-do lists. It's difficult, but we have a hope, especially if we are Christian. We have a hope that there is somebody else who is the source of our joy, who is the source of our energy, and I'm not trying to say if you're a Christian, then you shouldn't be burnt out. That is not at all what I'm saying. But what I am saying is that there is an unending source of peace, joy, fulfillment that doesn't have to come from us, that we can extend to our patients whenever we're in the workplace, that we can use when we're in a time of high stress, where we can take a breath, where we can use in a time of high stress, where we can take a breath and know that God is in control. If He's in control of everything else in my life, then He is in control of my work life as well. But I just want to encourage all of us to not forget to be a positive force within healthcare and society. Que Dios me los bendiga.
When I would listen to podcasts before I became a podcaster myself, I didn't realize how much leaving a 5-star review helped. And so now on this side, I just want you to know that it really does mean a whole lot when people review and share the content. So if you enjoyed it, please share it with somebody and leave a 5-star review on whichever platform you use, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, etc. And if you're interested, you can also find us on social media at Nice Veins Bro, or shop online at niceveinsbro.com. My personal stuff you can find under NENEPABLO, which is spelled NENEPABLO. I spend most of my time on YouTube making vlogs and videos, and on Instagram. So I would love to connect with you. And remember, be a positive force and influence within healthcare and society. It's all about God, wellness, and purpose here. Thank you for listening.